Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally bringing you the 311 video featuring the Natasha Denona Retro Palette. Now, as you'll also notice in the thumbnail and in the title, I am including a bonus look which features a few shadows from the mini Retro Palette. When the Retro Palette was released, a lot of people were perplexed of how these two actually could relate to one another. And so I thought it would be helpful to create a look that combines some shadows from each of those palettes. And that is the look that I'm wearing here today. Now, this look took me a while to get around to filming. So you're gonna notice that my hair color is different in this look than it is with the other three, and that is the reason. Now, if you are new here and you've not watched any of these videos before, I not only include the tutorial on the eyeshadow look, but I also will include my blush and lip combination for each look because I think that plays a big role in the overall finished look. All of the products that I feature in today's video will be listed and linked in the description box below, along with a playlist of the other 311 videos that I have done in the past. All right, hit that subscribe button, and now let's go ahead and get started with look number one. For this first look, I used the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in Eden. And now going in with the E50 from Sigma, I'm using a little touch of the shade Mod. This is a super pigmented, very bright shade. And at this point, I had quite a lot of sunless tanner on, so I didn't want my brow bone highlight to be too prominent. Next, going in with the Morphe M504 and the shade Nude Mauve, I am now going to work this shade through the crease. And at first it looks kind of patchy, but you'll see as I blend, it really does blend out nicely. And this color, you think it's going to be a boring tan color, but it has a beautiful rose base to it, so I love that. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Amara on a BK Beauty 206, and this look overall, I'm going to make it a little more peachy pinky looking, so I'm using some of the shades on this right side. So this color again is another one that you can easily build up and get quite a bit of depth. So going in with a second layer of that shade, you'll see how much darker just that shade gets with an additional layer. So it really is a beautiful palette, and a lot of these shades do have kind of added depth that you wouldn't expect when you initially look at the palette. So just making sure that's blended a little bit through the crease, and then going back with the M504, blending the edge. I do love to blend as I go. I think that makes it easier and makes the finished look a little bit softer and more blended. Now going in with one of my favorite deep shades in the palette, it is Groove. I'm using the Morphe M506 and just working this in the outer corner. This shade really can pack on a lot of depth. It's a beautiful deep dark burgundy, kind of plummy burgundy shade. I absolutely love it. So I'm just taking my time to tap that in there, build up the outer corner. And now on the lid, I'm going in first with the Urban Decay eyeshadow stick in Pop Off. This doesn't have a lot of prominent color, but it does put down kind of a nice sticky base so that when I go in with this shade Glitz, it has something to adhere to. And I just think these kind of shimmer shades, this one and Psychedelic, work a little better with a base underneath. So just tapping that on with my finger. This is the one that has a little bit of gold glitter, so I think it works well with everything else. And then I just go back with the BK Beauty 206 and just softly blend a little more Amara over that, just to kind of blend the outer corner shades into the glitter. And for my liner today, I'm using the Natasha Denona Macro Eye Crayon in Burgundy. This is a beautiful reddish purple shade. If you don't like reddish purples, you won't like this, but I personally love it. It's not a blue tone purple, so just be aware of that. I just blended this about halfway across on the lower lash line, and now I'm going to use this on my upper lashes as well. This is pigmented, but it is a little stiffer consistency, so if you want to blend this out, you need to do it right away. But this sets and stays so well all day long, and you can see it really does provide a lot of good immediate pigmentation there on the lash line. As I get to the outer corner, I am just kind of wedging it up just a little bit, and now going in with the BK Beauty 204 in More Groove. I'm going to use that to soften the edge of that liner. I'm not really smudging the liner, but just going over it with this shadow kind of disguises that line. So you keep that depth at the lash line, but it is just a little softer. And then one final blend with the M506 in the outer corner just to make sure that's all softly blended. On the lower lash line, going in with the Morphe M432 and Amara, the shade that we had in kind of the outer part of the crease, using that in the center of the lower lash line. And then I'm going to mix in a little Mod to dilute the strength of that color so that it kind of is a gradation of color as it goes in towards the inner corner. So I like to do this with a lighter shade on the lower lash line. Then added Ilia mascara over the Origins underwear for lashes and a little e.l.f. clear mascara to keep that mascara from smudging. And now for blush, I'm using the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Universe palette and the combination of Vibrant Heat and Luminous Rose blushes. And you're gonna see me use this in all 4 looks. I didn't really plan to do that, but I love this blush combination. And then for highlighter, I am going to combine the strobing light highlighter in there and the infinity powder. And I just find that this combination keeps the strobing light highlighter from being too crazy. And I just love how that powder just kind of evens out the skin tone a little bit. For the inner corner, I'm going to start off with the shade Mod on the E30 from Sigma and just brightening up that inner corner a little bit. And then I'm going to go over the top of it with the shade Glitz on my finger. And I just think that the combination of those two, again, it just kind of helps everything look seamless as you go from the inner corner onto the lid. And then I'll use the E30 just to make sure it's blended. I went around the edge of my lips with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, and now my little itty bitty Charlotte Tilbury lip cheat pencil in Pillow Talk 2 Medium, one of my all-time favorite colors. Using this around the edge of my lips, and then I do fill in just a little bit before going in with the Nabla lipstick. I am not sure this is still available, and the shade is called Platinum, and it's just such a beautiful rosy brown shade. But I'm going to go ahead and tap off a little bit of the excess on a tissue and add some gloss. This is the Smashbox Be Legendary Lip Gloss in Petal Metal. I added that to the center just to add a little fullness to the lips, and then blended the outer edge again with a little bit more of that lipstick. And I absolutely love that lip combination, and I think it pulled the whole look together. Here's our finished look with the eyes and the cheeks and lips. This is one of my favorite looks with this palette for sure. On to look number 2, I'm using the Thrive Cosmetics Eye Lift 360 Waterproof Primer today. And now I'm going in with a combination of Mod and Nude Mauve on the BK Beauty 201. And you can see I'm starting just below the brow bone and then blending up slightly. So instead of going in with that super stark Mod, I did that combination, and that just helped get my crease color started so that when I went in with this shade Nude Mauve on the Morphe M504, it was a little bit easier to blend out, and it kept this shade very soft. Overall, this look is going to be a little bit cooler, and so you're going to see me working with some of the cooler shades. So in this combination though, I'm doing a combination of Omara, Andy, Nude Mauve on the Morphe M504. And this just created the perfect combination for this look. So you can see it's a little bit brown, a little bit cool, but a little bit of a hint of warmth peeking out at the top of the crease. And that is what I personally love when I'm doing an overall cool look. I like to have that little bit of warmth there in the top of the crease. Now I'm going in with Opart on the 204 from BK Beauty. And this is a very cool tone brown. It has a lot of gray tones in it. It is one of the kind of cream to powder shadows in the palette. So it does take a little bit of building, but you can get a lot of depth here as you work with the shade. And so I'm just working up in a wedge shape, kind of up towards the edge of the brow. And now I'm going to blend out that shade a little bit with the Morphe M506 and adding a little more shadow as I go. So this shadow isn't as dark as you think it's going to be. And so that's why it does take a little bit of building, but it's definitely cooler tone. So to help blend it out as I go up towards the crease, I'm going to mix in a little bit of Amara and Opart together with that M506 and blend that up towards the top of the crease, towards the brow. And you can see that just helps all of those colors just blend into each other seamlessly. So you have that little bit of warmth, but as we go down towards the lash line, we get cooler and a little more brown. Then using the Morphe M504 just at the top edge, just to make sure everything is softly blended. Now I'm going in with a shade I had not yet used before this look, and it's Jude. And it is a beautiful shimmery taupe shade. I absolutely love it. So I tap that on the lid, on kind of the center 2/3 of the lid, and now going in with the shade Glitz on the inner corner, and then just brushing that over the edge of that Jude shade slightly. And I just love that gradation of color. For liner, I'm using this kind of newer one to me, the Sephora collection. This is Shimmer Taupe. So I thought this worked well with that shimmer shade on the lid. So working that into the lower lashes and then a little bit on the waterline into the roots of the lashes there on the lower lash line, and working it about 3/4 of the way across, and then using the Morphe M432 and a little bit of Opart just on the outer corner of the lower lash line, pressing that into the roots of the lashes. And then I'm working that up towards the outer corner on the upper lash line, because this just kind of gives me a guide of where I want the liner to go for the upper lashes. Then I'll use a little bit of Jude on that same brush and use that kind of in the center portion of the lower lash line. And I love the shimmer, how it looks through the lower lashes when the look is finished. And then I'll use a little bit of Nude Mauve on that same brush as I go towards the inner corner, again, just to make the lower lash line look soft. For the upper lashes, I'm using the KVD Tattoo Liner. I'm getting to the end of this one. This is the shade Mad Max Brown. It's a beautiful deep dark brown, and doing a super thin line in the inner corner. And then as I get to the outer corner, I am going to pull out just a tiny little bit of a wing. I do have a video on winged liner for hooded eyes, so if you struggle with that, check out that video. I'll link it down below. But I'm making sure to connect that liner with my lower lash line there in the outer corner. I finished off the eyes with some mascara. Now it's time for cheeks. And again, I'm using the same two blushes from that Hourglass palette, but I'm using the Angie Hot and Flashy BK Beauty brush, the A507, and doing a combination of those two blushes. And this brush, I love the angled tip, but it is a little more dense, so you need to pick up less product on your cheeks and work that in. But now I'm going to add a little bit of the bronze light, glistening bronze light from that palette. Because this look is a little more neutral, I didn't want the cheeks to be too pink. So using a little bit of that bronzer on the tops of the cheeks just kind of warmed it up and neutralized the blush just a little bit, and then going back and adding a touch more of the Vibrant Heat blush. And then on that same brush, just wiped it off, I'm going to now add a little bit of the strobing light and the infinity powder on the tops of the cheeks like I did before. And it just kind of makes the cheeks look seamless, like there's no start and end to the bronzer and blush and highlighter and all of that. And then just going back with a little bit of that highlighter shade on the inner corner. I wanted a little softer inner corner highlight, not as glittery as the previous look. So I thought this was a nice way to add that brightness there. And using the E30 from Sigma, just blending that out. Around the edge of the lips, again, using the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. and this just evens out my lip lines. And then I am also adding a little bit of powder because I'm using a combination of the Sephora Rouge Gel lip liners, and these are so soft and very hard to get the lid off, but I need as much staying power as possible. So the paint pot and that powder really help these lip liners stay well. So I'm going in first with this shade. It's called Bellflower. And then I am going to blot that off because, again, these are so emollient and soft, they can bleed easily. And then, if I can get the lid off, I'm using the shade Rum Raisin just to further deepen and warm up and add just a little bit of a berry tone to the lips. And tapped that off, and now I'm working it in with my finger. So this is going to be my lip color, and then I'm going in with the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Diamonds lipstick, and I just love this shade. I love this combination. It ends up looking similar to the first combination of lips, but I don't know. I just love it. So here's our finished look. We have more of a cooler, taupier look on the eyes with the pink lips. Love, love this look. On to look number 3. Ignore my hair. It was air drying because I was going to wet it again and do a hair tutorial. But started off this look with the Smashbox 24-Hour Photo Finish Eyeshadow Primer. And now we're using the shade Vivian on the Morphe M504. And I'm working this all the way through my crease. And I'm taking cues from my sweater that I have on. So I'm going to really go more in the terracotta part of this palette, so staying more on that right side. And adding the shade Go Go on the Morphe M504, I'm taking that through the crease, and we're just gradually deepening up these kind of peachy pink shades through the crease and the outer corner. So I'm going down with a smaller brush. This is the A502 from BK Beauty, and I'm adding now Amara, and this is now the deepest terracotta shade in the palette. So on the right side, we have more of these warm tone shades, and I just love how they all blend together. Now this shade, you can build up a lot of depth, but you do need to take your time. So that's why I am speeding through this, but I just was tapping in a little more, adding, blending more, adding more, blending, etc. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Opart on that same brush, and just adding this to the very outer corner there because I wanted a hint of some brown there mixed in with those corally shades. So then I'm going in with the Morphe M504 and a little bit of Mod just under the brow because I wanted to soften the edge of those crease colors. And now I'm going in with the shade Hello. And this is a beautiful shade, similar to Jude, but it's more on the warm side. So you can see this has a little bit of some kind of peachy undertones to it. And then I'm going to add Psychedelic, which actually has cooler kind of glitter in it. And I think the combination of those two shades is really beautiful. And then I'm going to add a little bit of Glitz. So Glitz and Psychedelic have similar base color, but one has silver glitter, one has gold. And then I decided I wanted to wet my brush and see what happened. So I wet my E60 with a little Maybelline setting mist, and that just kind of made it much more of a metallic finish. And then I'm tapping on a little more of Psychedelic on top, and then blending through the crease with that A502 just to make sure the edge of everything looks soft. Time for liner, and I'm using the KVD Tattoo Liner again in Mad Max Brown because I love how thin of a line I can get there at the inner corner. And then I am pulling out a wing here and just working that towards the center of the lid, thickening up just a little bit, but I didn't want the wing to overtake the look. On the lower lash line, I'm using the NYX Epic Wear liner in Mauve, and this is a very cool pink, very light, but it does show up well on my skin tone. And then I'm going over the top of that with the Morphe M432 and the shade Hello. Again, I love that shimmer shadow under the lower lash line. I just think it provides just that little extra pizzazz. And then I'll use a little bit of Opart on the outer corner of the lower lash line, blended into the roots of the lashes, and then just making sure to connect it with the outer corner on the upper lashes. Added mascara again, and now here we are again with the same blush combination. Who knew these could be so versatile? Using the Morphe E4 again, I'm just working those two colors softly into the cheeks. And again, I love how that face palette coordinates well with this Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the bronze color from that palette again. And then here is my favorite highlighting combination on the 140 fan brush from MAC. And just adding that nice little bit of glow to the tops of the cheeks and the bridge of the nose. And then I'm going to use the E50 from Sigma. I thought this would be fun to try. So I used just a little bit of that Infinity powder as my brow bone highlight shade. And I actually really liked how it looked. I thought it kind of was a wonderful finishing touch there. Around the edge of the lips, after applying my MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot, I am once again going in with the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk 2 Medium Pencil. And then for my lipstick, I'm using the Bite Power Move matte lipstick, and this is the shade Praline. This is such a beautiful color and very long wearing, but I'm also going to add a little Petal Metal gloss. And so this lip combination, while similar, it has more of a warmer finish to it. And here is our finished look. I did my wild and crazy hair in a tutorial, and now the makeup and everything has come together, and I again love how this look turned out. Now onto our bonus look. I started off with the Thrive Eye Lift 360 Waterproof Primer, and now on the Sigma E50 using Mod, I am putting this under the brow. Again, I'm not adding a ton of this color, but you can see because my skin tone is a little lighter at this point, it doesn't look as stark. Then on the Morphe M504, I'm taking a little bit of Andy through the crease, and this is just a beautiful, cool, rosy color, but I didn't want it to be too pink, so I added a little bit of nude mauve on top of that, because I want that cool pink tone, but I still need it to look a little bit neutral, because we are going in with the Mini Retro Palette. So using the BK Beauty 203 brush, I'm going in with the matte green shade in that palette, and it's called 60s, and I am just tapping this, kind of pressing it into the outer corner. I find that this shade, it does take a little bit of building, but if you pack it on and then just blend the edges, I think that works better. But you can see it's such a neutral green. It does not look overtly green or grassy green, but you're going to see how these green shades just work so nicely with the pink and rosy tones of the palette. Next, going in with the A502, we're going to go into this purple shade. I know you think I've lost my mind, but hang with me here. I am using the shade Swing, and even though this has shimmer in it, it worked well in the outer corner, and I felt like that shimmer did not show up as I blended it out. So using a blending brush, I think really helped. But then to kind of soften the outer edge, I'm going in with a little more of Andy on that same brush. And it just really created a little bit of added depth in the outer corner. But then I'm going back to the Mini Retro Palette in the shade Industrial, and I'm working that over about 2/3 of the lid. I am overlapping that matte green shade in the outer corner, and I think it's so pretty. And then I'm adding a little bit of the shade Galaxia or Galaxia in the inner corner from the Mini Retro Palette, and just pressing that on the inner corner, and you can see it just lightens things up, makes a nice gradation of color as we go into the inner corner. And now going back to that Natasha Denona Macro Tech Eye Crayon in Burgundy, working this on the lower lash line and then just smudging it in with my finger. And this is just going to be a base for the shade Swing using my Morphe M432. Just going to tap a little bit of that over the top of it so that it blends well into our outer corner. Now for the first time, I'm trying the Natasha Denona Macro Blade Liquid Liner. And this does have a super fine tip, but it is a stiffer tip than the KVD tattoo liners. So these can be a little bit challenging for me to work with, but overall I felt like this worked well. I was able to get a nice thin line towards the inner corner, and then I was able to do a really fine line here to make a winged liner, and this did dry down to a nice matte deep black shade, so that was good. Then to create a really thin point there, I did gently pull out on my skin there, gently being the key word. And then I added my favorite trio of lash mascaras, and I'll list those down below. And now back to our Hourglass Ambient Lighting Universe palette. I am once again doing a combination of those two blushes on the Morphe E4, and I just really love how all of these looks worked well with these blush colors. And then I'm adding in the highlighting combination, the strobing light and the infinity powder on that MAC 140, and just highlighting and then going back with my finger and a little bit of that strobing light on the inner corner. I thought this would combine really well with the glitter shade from the Mini Retro palette on the inner corner, and you can see it does. It looks really nice and soft and brightening. And then around the edge of the lips, used the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot again, and then added my lip liner, which is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude Lip Crayon in the shade Julia. This is a beautiful neutral kind of cool tone nude shade. I love how it combines with the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude lipstick in the shade Sava. This has more pink tones, and combined, I think this is the perfect combination for the rest of our makeup look. And if you're wondering how the Mini Retro would look with the Retro palette, here you go. And I love the combination of the two. I hope that you enjoyed this entire video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.